Okay, let's dive into this. If you've been anywhere near excess spaces, Facebook, developer WhatsApp groups, or even just scrolling YouTube over the past few weeks, you've absolutely seen the massive uproar surrounding Ghana's proposed NITA bill. I mean, the tech space has been literally on fire. The internet was flooded with these dire warnings that this new regulation was just going to completely upend the country's entire tech ecosystem. But today, in this explainer, we're going to take a step back. We're going to take a structured, completely impartial look at what the source material and the recent government clarifications are actually telling us. Which brings us to the million-dollar question we're exploring today. Is the NITA bill actually different from what we thought? We're going to look really closely at that terrifying narrative that just took over the internet and compare it directly to the government's stated plans. Does the reality actually match the panic? Or is there a massive curiosity gap between what everyone feared and what's actually being proposed? Section 1. The viral tech panic and what sparked the backlash. To really understand the sheer scale of the reaction, just listen to the exact, pretty dramatic labels the developer community was using. People were calling it a digital tax, an innovation killer, and get this, even a digital coup. The controversy just exploded like wildfire after portions of a draft bill leaked online. And you have to remember, for an ecosystem that heavily relies on self-learning, super agile startups, and borderless remote work, these leaked documents weren't just a regulatory update. They were seen as a genuine existential threat. The initial panic was driven by a few very specific, very scary fears. People read through these leaked sections and saw mandatory certification, strict licensing requirements, obligatory registration with annual renewals, and some really severe penalties for operating without approval. So the immediate takeaway for a lot of people was, well, that the bill would effectively criminalize self-taught programmers. People honestly thought it was going to make it illegal to just write code or do freelance tech work in Ghana without getting state approval first. Section 2, the stakeholder reality check. The government responds. So as the public pressure was absolutely mounting, the Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology, and Innovations, working alongside NITA, stepped in. They organized a public stakeholder engagement meeting to just address this massive backlash head-on. And during this session, Communications Minister Samuel Nartey George delivered a series of key clarifications. As we're going to see, these explanations added some much-needed nuance to those viral rumors that had been flying around. Misconception number 1. Is the viral draft the final law? So, the absolutely crucial point here is that scary version everyone reacted to, it's not the final approved bill. Actually, scratch that, it's not even close to being final. Let's walk through this timeline because it kind of changes the whole context of the panic. The minister clarified that the leaked document is merely a draft. Right now, as we speak, the bill is still going through public consultations and legal reviews. Multiple revisions are actively happening. It hasn't even reached the upcoming stage of being sent to cabinet for approval, let alone the future stage of actually being presented to parliament for a final vote. So that terrifying version that went viral, it might look completely different from the law Ghana eventually sees. Misconception number 2. Who is actually affected by this? There is a massive divide here between the internet's fears and the government's stated focus. The myth was that literally every front-end developer, student coder, graphic designer, and freelancer out there would be forced to register. But contrast that with the reality. According to the updated explanations, the bill actually targets professionals working on government digital systems, regulated ICT service providers, fintech entities, and cloud services. The target is significantly narrower than what social media was afraid of. It's really about critical infrastructure, not, a teenager building a website in their bedroom. Misconception number 3, the extreme fees. Okay, let's talk about the numbers that truly shocked young developers and startup founders. 6,000 cedis. That was the terrifying rumor circulating online. The narrative was that everyone, regardless of their income or how much experience they had, would be hit with a flat 6,000 cedi registration fee, followed by another 5,000 in annual renewals. For a young startup or a solo freelancer, that number is just staggering. It's a total non-starter. But here is the actual reported starting tier, 150 cedis. Officials clarified that the fee structure is category-based. It's not just one massive flat fee for everybody. Some of the lower levels reportedly start around 150 or 300 cedis. The larger fees, the ones up in the thousands, those are meant for senior enterprises, large organizations, and high-level operators, not your everyday individual coder. Section 3, valid concerns that remain. Why people are still worried. Now, even with all these clarifications, the tech ecosystem remains understandably skeptical. And fair enough, right? Tech commentators warn that even with the best intentions, poorly written regulation can create massive long-term headaches. There's a very real risk of overregulation leading to bureaucratic delays. People are afraid of unnecessary barriers being put up that could slow down agile startups. Critics also worry about giving regulators way too much discretionary power. And that leads directly to the final, biggest fear, that future interpretations of the law could gradually broaden its scope, eventually capturing the exact same everyday people the government currently claims are exempt. And this brings us right to the absolute core worry of the ecosystem. Can a teen in Tamale, Kumasi, Takoradi, or Sunyani still freely learn to code and freelance? See, Ghana's tech space is growing rapidly precisely because it is so incredibly accessible. All you need is a laptop and decent Wi-Fi, and boom, you can enter the global industry. The overarching fear is that excessive regulation, even if it's completely by accident, could block that accessibility and kill the momentum of the youth. Section 4. The plot twist. Some fees already exist in law. Now, what's really interesting about this is a totally surprising defense brought up by NITA during these discussions. They actually pointed out that some of these regulatory powers aren't new at all. They referenced existing legislative instruments. LI 2481 already covers certain registrations, ICT provider licensing, and e-commerce. Meanwhile, LI 2512 covers fintech accreditation. Basically, they're arguing these powers are already in force. But of course, this revelation only sparked even more debate online, with developers understandably throwing their hands up and asking, well, if these laws already existed, why are we only just hearing about them right now? Section 5. Ghana's bigger digital picture. Building a digital economy framework. Let's move to the wider lens and see how this all builds into the government's much broader vision for the nation. Officials have hinted that this isn't just about one isolated NITA bill. The larger goal encompasses cybersecurity, AI regulation, digital infrastructure, data governance, and digital commerce. The plan appears to be that multiple tech-related bills, including this one, might eventually be merged into one massive Digital Economy Act. The ultimate goal here is to formally regulate the entire nationwide tech space, bringing it up to international standards as Ghana's digital economy matures. Which brings us to our final, pivotal thought for this explainer. The final draft of the NITA bill is still not public. But this massive debate, it has successfully awakened Ghana's tech community. They are dialed in and paying very close attention. So the question we have to leave you with today is this. Can Ghana regulate its digital economy without accidentally slowing down the very innovation it desperately wants to grow? It is a super delicate balancing act between safety, structure, and digital freedom. Keep an eye on how this develops, because I can guarantee you, this conversation is far from over.